So if you could please join me in welcoming, hopefully, our next U.S. Senator from Texas, James Talarico. So I came up with some fun questions for James, but we're also going to do a little fun speed round. How many speeding tickets James Talarico is going to have in the next year? Because he likes to drive and he likes to drive fast.
Guilty as charged.
Yeah. So anyway, so we all need to really, in our prayers, make sure that he is safe and sound and that he has no speeding ticket. But I love that about James because he has like such a squeaky clean image, but really there is a little bit of a rebel side in there somewhere. So I absolutely adore that because it makes him a little bit more just like the rest of us, which is good. So anyway, as you all know, James Talarico is the House. He's in the House for House seat in House District 50. And he has been in this, how many sessions now?
Four terms,
sessions. Yep. 4 sessions. So quite a bit. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to just ask him some questions about, just running for Senate. So here we go.
Yeah.
So tell us about the moment that you finally decided to run for U.S. Senate.
Well, and this is probably relevant because so many people here are running for office or running campaigns. First, just want to thank y'all for doing that. I'm stepping up to run for U.S. Senate, but this is going to be a team effort with everyone who's running at every level on the ballot. And I know a lot of the people are here in this room who are going to be on that team. And so probably like y'all, I made the decision to run for office over a long period of time. It's not an easy decision to make, but it is an important one. I spent the summer after the regular session trying to figure out how I can continue my service. And I thought about running for re-election to the House. And I also thought about this U.S. Senate race that went back and forth over the summer. And then the quorum break happened and we were in special session. And so my focus was back on the job that I have, because I really do think you have to do that job before you start applying for other jobs. And that experience of breaking quorum, it really allowed me to see how this system, the political system, but also our economic system, our media system, how it is rigged to benefit the people in power and to hurt regular people across the state of Texas, across the country. And so that was really a motivating factor for me because they made gerrymander all the districts in our state, but they can't gerrymander the state lines. And so we will have a shot in 2026 of winning the Senate seat. And I hope to do that with all of you in this room.
So tell us, what do you feel that this office needs, the U.S. Senate office?
Well, I think it needs a U.S. Senator that's going to represent the people of the state and not billionaire mega donors. And unfortunately, on the Republican side, we have 2 people running who have both shown that they're more interested in serving their donors than serving the people of the state. Ken Paxton's crimes are well known. I was part of the bipartisan coalition in the Texas House that impeached our corrupt attorney general. But it feels like we haven't talked as much about John Cornyn's corruption because he was the deciding vote on that big, ugly bill that's going to kick millions of Texans off their health care. It's going to take food out of the mouths of hungry Texas children, all to fund tax breaks for John Cornyn's billionaire donors. And so we oftentimes think corruption is something illegal. We oftentimes think it has something to do with personal enrichment, but corruption is really just the betrayal of the public's trust. It is the abuse of a public office. And so what John Cornyn did with that big, ugly bill is corruption of the highest order. And so I look forward, if I'm the nominee, to prosecuting the case against Ken Paxton or John Cornyn because neither deserve the honor of representing this great state in our nation's capital.
Absolutely. So what values drive you and what Republican myths about Democrats do you want to debunk?
Well, these 2 questions are kind of related because for some reason, the other party has gotten a monopoly on faith. And maybe that's a little bit of our fault too, that we have conceded religion and spirituality to the other side. And we have seen the disastrous effects of that in the last election. Democrats and folks on our side of the aisle are motivated by deeply held values. Sometimes it's religious, sometimes it's ethical or moral, but those values are what underpin our policy proposals. I think we as Democrats have to do a better job of talking about those values and talking about those values first. I'm a policy wonk. Our policies are important, but unless people understand the values that motivate those policy proposals, they're not going to connect with us at that deeper level. So, as many of you know, I talk very openly about my faith and how it motivates my public service, both as an elected official, but also as a classroom teacher, which is where I started my public service on the west side of San Antonio. And all of that was because I am called as a Christian to love my neighbors as myself. And it's not just the neighbors who look like me or who pray like me or who vote like me. I'm called to love all of my neighbors like I love myself. And that's because we're really much more alike than we are different. We have beautiful differences and we should celebrate those. But at the end of the day, we all want the same things. We want a safe neighborhood. We want a good job. We want a high quality, well funded public school in our neighborhood. And we want the ability to see a doctor when we need one. That is a tremendous amount of commonality, of common ground. And my faith teaches me to recognize that in my neighbors. And so I hope to focus on that unity when going into this next election and talking about the love I have for my neighbors and how, through public policy, we can make the lives of our neighbors a little easier and a little better.
Well, you may have just answered my next question, but
Sure.
let's go right ahead and
Yeah.
just ask it again.
Yeah.
So, what are your top three campaign issues?
So I'm going to give you two policy issues and then one process that I think unites all of them. So in my 4 terms in the state house, I was able to pass major legislation, which is not easy to do as a Democrat in the Texas legislature. But I worked across the aisle. I passed major bills to bring down prescription drug costs, including the first ever cap on insulin copays. Some of you know that I'm a type 1 diabetic. I was diagnosed in my first campaign. It was a surprise diagnosis and I couldn't afford my insulin. It was $684 for a 30-day supply. And I had to put that on a credit card. I didn't have that kind of money, still don't have that kind of money. And I realized that Texans with diabetes face those pressures every day. So I passed the first ever cap on insulin copays, $25 per prescription. I think that inspired the Biden administration to cap insulin for Medicare at $35. And then you've also seen Big Pharma start to bring down their costs because of those public policy measures that have been passed. I've also passed bills to bring down the cost of childcare. That was Prop 2 on the last constitutional election ballot. That was a bill I passed to give property tax relief to childcare centers, many of which are closing across the state at a rapid rate. And then the last is the cost of housing. Young people like me, my fellow millennials, but also Gen Z, we have the dream of owning a home, of living that American dream, and it is increasingly out of reach for most young people in this state. So I passed a bill last session with Nathan Johnson, who's on your playing card, that removes some outdated regulations to build cheaper, more affordable housing throughout the state of Texas so that more people can realize that American dream of owning a home. So those are 3 areas that I'm really interested in, and I think that'll help with the cost of living crisis we have in our state. And then the process, though, and this may be more important, if we don't deal with corruption, if we don't get rid of the influence of big money in our politics, if we don't pass a national ban on gerrymandering in every state in the union, we're never going to see progress on these policy issues that we care so much about. And so that's, for me and for this campaign, going to be a uniting policy proposal, which is taking on corruption, fixing a broken political system so that elected officials actually do the people's business and not the business of billionaire mega donors.
Okay, what's the last book you read?
Last book I read was a book by Barbara Brown Taylor, who's one of my favorite theologians, and she's an Episcopal priest in Georgia. She wrote a book called Holy Envy, which was about her experience as a seminary professor teaching a world religions class. and it was all about how you see yourself in other faith traditions and how you can connect with people across those different traditions. And the title is from this term, holy envy, of when you see something in another religion that really connects with you, and this idea that we can have a little bit of jealousy when there's something in another tradition that really speaks to the human experience. And I thought it was a beautifully written book. I highly encourage it. Again, Holy Envy by Barbara Brown Taylor.
Wonderful. What is your favorite word?
Well, first I want to say I love words because I was a language arts teacher before I ran for office, taught reading and writing. All of the speeches I give, the sermons I deliver are all written by me. I don't have a speechwriter. So I believe in the power of words to change the world and change people's hearts and minds. So I love words a lot. I particularly love words that will kind of capture an emotion that's hard to describe, and I also love words where um, almost like an onomatopoeia, where it sounds like the thing it's describing. And so one word that does both is the word wistful. This kind of vague longing for something that we sometimes feel. It's got a little melancholy to it. I feel like that word is it's fun to say, and it does describe an emotion that's sometimes hard to pin down. So wistful is going to be the word I'll choose.
Wonderful. What is your favorite song?
Oh, I have so many favorite songs, but I will tell you the first favorite song I ever had, which was when I was 5 years old, and it was "My Maria" by Brooks and Dunn. I had like a cassette tape that I would play in my mom's Saturn, and it's still a great song. Brooks and Dunn, not to be confused with Dunn and Wilkes, the bad duo. And so yeah, I've always loved country western, particularly 1980s, 1990s country western music.
Okay. Do you have a personal motto?
Well, we've had a motto on our campaign team ever since our first campaign in Williamson County. I first got elected by flipping a Trump district that no one thought was winnable. No one thought I could win, and we ran an aggressive, authentic, unorthodox campaign, including a 25-mile walk across my district. And on that campaign, our motto was "Tough minds, tender hearts." And this comes from a sermon from Dr. King, where he's talking about this commandment from Jesus in the New Testament to have the mind of a serpent and the heart of a dove. And those things seem contradictory, but Jesus and Dr. King are telling us that to do this kind of work, you have to have both. You've got to have a mind that is strategic, that is analytical, that is data driven, that takes in new ideas and new evidence and is able to change and adjust. That's that tough mind. But you also need a tender heart. You have to know why you're doing this. You have to be motivated by something larger than yourself. You have to be motivated by a love for people and serving those people. And so you have to keep both of those in tension at the same time. And so on our campaign, we always remind everyone that we have to have a tough mind and a tender heart.
What is your favorite meal?
Favorite meal? Um,
Like
I think if I was, yeah, I think if there was one food that if I could only eat one food for the rest of my life, I think I would choose a breakfast taco. And here's why. Here's why, because breakfast taco works any time of day. You can break it apart, right? You have tortilla, you have eggs, or if you eat meat, bacon, sausage, and it gives you protein, and it's also delicious, and you can find them almost everywhere. So breakfast taco is probably my favorite, and the meal I would eat if I could only eat
good
one meal.
choice. Good choice. Okay, so what is your favorite hobby?
Favorite hobby? Well, I love to read. I'd mentioned that earlier, but uh, probably my favorite hobby is hiking. I love to hike. Every year I go out to Big Bend, which is one of my favorite places on earth. I also go to Lost Maples every year, probably my favorite state natural area. That's in the Hill Country if you've never been. And then I love to walk. It's the way I relax, the way I kind of meditate and pray is by walking. And so hiking, walking, I would say is my favorite hobby.
Awesome. What is your favorite animal?
Favorite animal? Well, I don't have pets just because I'm never home. But I do have three feral cats that live in my backyard. Well, they kind of live in the neighborhood, but they come to my backyard a lot because I put out food for them. Um, and they've been around since they were kittens. They've showed up when they were real little in my backyard. There's one white one, there's one black one, and there's one gray one. And I haven't named them except I call them little gray baby, little black baby, little white baby. Um, Acronyms: LBB, LWB, LGB. It's a whole thing. So I've said I wasn't going to get attached to them, but clearly I'm attached to them. But they're about 1 year old now, and they terrorize the birds in the neighborhood and the rodents in the neighborhood, and they're also in conflict with the raccoons in the neighborhood. It's a whole thing. But so I would say feral cats, my favorite animal.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so here is the last question we have for you. Where can we find out more information about your campaign and what are all your, details, URL handles?
Yeah, you can find me on all the social media platforms at JamesTalarico. Encourage you to follow us on there, whatever your preferred platform. We're on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. We're on Threads, on Blue Sky, on YouTube, on Facebook. I think that's all of them. Oh, and we're on Substack. Just joined Substack over the summer. And so please follow us on any of those. And then you can always go to our website, which is just JamesTalarico.com. When you go on there, you can sign up to donate. You can also sign up to volunteer. I'm a big believer in campaigns. I think field is the heart and soul of a campaign. And so our campaign is going big on organizing. And so we're going to be hiring organizers. We're going to be having a huge volunteer program. So if that interests you and you want to be a part of that, or you know people who do want to be a part of that, go to our website and put in your information, and we'll be contacting folks very soon about how to get involved in our field program. Well, thank y'all. And I look forward to doing that alongside all of you. So thank you.
Thank you.